If asked to point to the West, you'd likely circle North America and Western Europe. But this geographic rule fails immediately. Look at Australia and New Zealand. They are culturally and politically Western, yet sit deep within the Eastern Hemisphere. The map becomes increasingly complex the closer you look. Latin America holds deep linguistic and religious ties to Europe, while Russia has spent centuries on a cultural fault line, physically bordering Europe while maintaining a distinct Orthodox tradition. Even standard terms like the Far East or the Near East describe relative perspectives rather than absolute locations. These labels were defined entirely by European empires, measuring the world's distance from their own capitals. Geography provides an unreliable definition because the West exists as a portable, ideological operating system, independent of physical coordinates. This operating system began as a specific mindset in ancient Greece. For the Greeks, their identity centered on civic freedom, which they viewed in direct contrast to the autocratic structures of neighboring empires. Rome later absorbed these Greek foundations, conquering the Mediterranean basin and institutionalizing a divide between a Latin-speaking West and a Greek-speaking East. When the Roman Empire eventually collapsed, the continent fractured into warring kingdoms and principalities, leaving a massive vacuum in governance and infrastructure. Judeo-Christian theology emerged as the great unifier, providing the shared moral and legal framework that restored cohesion to these fragmented post-Roman kingdoms. The historical reality is that the West relies heavily on Levantine monotheism. Many of its core religious and trade practices were stimulated and shaped by Near Eastern cultures. During the Middle Ages, Islamic scholars in places like Al-Andalus performed a vital role in this evolution. They preserved, translated, and reintroduced the lost Greek scientific texts that would eventually spark the European Renaissances. This core DNA represents a syncretism of Greek philosophy, Rundan civic order, Levantine religion, and Islamic academic preservation. Medieval authorities began to aggressively institutionalize this knowledge, most notably through the invention of the modern university system. During this same period, the modern hospital system took shape, moving care for the sick into organized civic infrastructure. The Renaissance and the invention of the movable type printing press followed, democratizing knowledge and ending the elite monopoly on information. This information surge fueled the Enlightenment, which prioritized empirical inquiry, political pluralism, and the protection of individual rights. These values catalyzed the scientific revolution, as traditional lines of authority were replaced by the rigorous testing of the scientific method. By the 18th century, the Industrial Revolution triggered the Great Divergence. For the first time, a civilization achieved sustained, consistent growth in per capita income. The borders of the modern West were defined by this institutionalized science and industrial capability, separating it from the rest of the world through technological momentum. In the contemporary world, the West is defined by geopolitical alignment. Membership is signaled by a commitment to collective security and the rule of law. Participation in supranational organizations has become the definitive marker for states aligning themselves with liberal democratic values. Global telecommunications and the internet have rapidly exported this framework. Today, Western mass media, science, and political structures are accessible in every corner of the globe. Because of this global reach, the geographic West is no longer a requirement for using the scientific method or participating in the global economy. These tools have been exported even beyond our own planet. The West has evolved into a universally accessible ideological framework, ancient ideas refined into the foundational code of the modern human experience.